Hi, I'm Cynthia Murphy
Hi, I'm Georgia Bowers.
in the Red Room. Um, and we are joined today by Rosie Talbot, the author of the upcoming 16 Souls. Welcome, Rosie.
Hello. Hello. Thank you for having me.
Rosie is our famous guest because I had a little look on Rosie's TikTok and she's got over 100,000 followers now.
Wowzers.
I know.
Yeah.
Because it was like
It's a surprise to
30,000
me.
last time I checked. Yeah.
No, it's sort of escalated somewhat, but yeah, much to my surprise and joy. It's wonderful. It's a lovely community, but yeah.
Yeah. You're a good TikToker
Very,
though. You're very watchable.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, you've got it, like not like me, like just making one every 6 months. You can and and I tend to
usually
do ones that my publicist tells me to. Right,
I
so
don't know what it is. Really.
You're not on it, are you?
No, I think I'm too old.
I keep going to tag you in stuff and then you're not there, so because we've got
very good fun. It's dangerous for your bank balance though. So many book recommendations. So,
oh really? Twitter's bad enough for that. I put
Mm.
myself on a book buying ban for the last few months because I get sent so many now, and I figure if I can't read those, then I definitely don't need to buy any new ones. So I've been quite good actually. I've not bought any new ones for a little while. Okay, so Rosie, please tell us your 3 facts, your 2 truths and a lie.
Okay, so number 1, I used to work as a professional Victorian era reenactor. Number 2, I've been a life model for 2 pieces of public sculpture, one of which is of a famous suffragette. Number 3, although I'm right-handed, I can actually write backwards with my left hand in perfect mirror writing.
Wow.
I
want them all to be true.
I know. Well, right. So I have seen, because Rosie makes big skirts and things, don't you? Like Victorian Regency era kind of costumes. So I can completely see number 1 being true. I really want number 2 to be true because I keep thinking about the sculpture of Emmeline Pankhurst in Manchester, and she is wearing those kind of skirts and she's got hair similar to yours, but she's got a hat on. So I want you to be her, because when I walk past it in Manchester, I can be like, there's Rosie. So I think it's number 3 that's fake.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go 3 as well. I think.
Well, now I'm thinking a number 1 and 2 too similar.
Yeah, they are quite similar, aren't they? Maybe that. I'm going to go 1. I think 1. Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out at the end.
I had to laugh as well because when you sent through your facts and I saw the one about the public sculpture, and in my mind, I kind of went to the suffragette sculpture. And when Georgia and I recently went to Gladstone's library, and
I thought immediately.
Yeah, we drank quite a lot of wine, and we were probably like the noisiest people they'd had there in ages. And when we left, we got back about 2 days later and they were like, oh, look at our new visitor. And they had this life-size Lego sculpture of a suffragette that was visiting and that was like living in the room where we'd been drinking all the wine. And we text each other going, oh my God, thank God that wasn't there when we were, because we would have absolutely smashed that to bits, wouldn't we?
I still have like anxiety twitches thinking of like what could have been, because some idiot would have been like, oh, look at this, and then next thing, her arms come off.
Yeah.
Can you imagine falling into that though, like smashing it? How I'll fix it, it'll be fine.
Yeah, that's it. Like that scene in Father Ted where he tries to tap out the little dent and then it goes back and he's tapped it out so much that the whole car is just like one big dent. They would have come down in the morning to find like Yoda in Lego rather than Suffragette. It's anxiety inducing, even though it wasn't there at the same time as us. It still makes me worry. So that's where my mind went. Anyway, massive tangent. Rosie, what are you going to tell us about today?
So for 16 Souls, I spent a lot of time researching ghosts and spooky goings on in York. So 16 Souls is set in York. So I'm going to tell you all about, hauntings and other grim ways to die in the city of York in England, because
exciting.
It's quite an intense place to be a ghost. So I think part of my favorite thing is, I actually didn't get to York until after I'd written the whole novel. So I really relied on Google Maps and the wonderful internets in order to research this incredibly atmospheric city. And it is so atmospheric. Like when you go, it has this real presence. And I want to try and capture that in my writing without even actually having been there. So the stories I could find online were absolutely invaluable. And one thing you do notice when you go there is there are lots of tall men and women in black cloaks sort of whooshing around everywhere, and they're ghost tour guides, and you can go on all these ghost tours and they're magnificent. So when I did get to York, I went on one of them and they're fabulous. If you're in the city, go on one, they're brilliant. So some of my favorite stories, some I included in the book and some I didn't, or some I tweaked. I think that's kind of the fun. Mad Alice. So there is a ginnel or a snickle way, an alleyway called Lund Court, and it was formerly called Mad Alice Lane. And everybody was like, well, who's Mad Alice? You know? And interestingly, because nobody really knew who Mad Alice was, all this folklore sort of sprang up around her, and people reported having seen a ghostly woman at the windows that overlook this narrow ginnel. And they said, that's Alice. And there are a variety of different stories about who she was. So some people say that her name was Alice Smith, and she lived on the alleyway in the 1800s, I believe. And she was unfortunately executed for being mad. No explanation, she just was mad, so she was killed. Other stories say that she was in an abusive relationship with her husband, and she got so sick of it that she poisoned him to death. Other reports say she stabbed him to death, so we have options. But unfortunately, within the records, there's no evidence of anyone called Alice at that time who was executed. So the records aren't there to back it up, but I love how this kind of folkloric story has just evolved to the point where one of these people who do these amazing ghost trails styles herself as Mad Alice, and she runs a ghost tour, which is quite fun. So that was one of my favorites. Another one of my favorites is the story of Jeff Monroe, who is a Canadian airman who sadly, tragically fell to his death in, I think, 1945 from the third-story window of room 4 at the Golden Fleece, which is said to be one of the most haunted pubs in the city. So essentially, it's the most haunted pub in the most haunted city in Europe.
Yeah, so that's got to be like quite high level haunting.
Oh yeah,
it?
and I went to visit it, and I thought, what's this place like? Because I've got a scene in the book set there, so I'd seen it from all these pictures, and I was like, I've got to go. And I went and I edited the scene in there, and it has a presence. It definitely has. There's something about that place. It's got these old beams, and it kind of smells of like old pub in a really good way. And I thought, yeah, if I was a ghost, I'd hang out here. This is really nice. But poor Jeff, I don't think he has a choice but to hang around. So nobody knows why he fell. Could have been an accident. Could have been pushed. Who knows? But I suppose I find his story so sad because he was an airman, he was a soldier, and it was during the war, but it wasn't, he didn't die because of war, he died because of possibly some tragic accident after a heavy night of drinking. But I mean, he can hang out with the various bodies that were kept in the basement in that pub. So executed criminals, their bodies would be kept in the pub basement, as you do. And apparently one of the landlords back in the day hung himself, and sometimes you can see a spectral figure of a hanged man behind the bar. So there's all kinds of like creepy stories at the Golden Fleece. So yeah, lots of pub hauntings in York.
Well, yeah, I can imagine.
You would, wouldn't you, if you were a ghost?
You'd want to go to the pub, I think. You hear
Actually,
the best gossip at the pub.
Georgia did a story about when you did about Jane Castle, and that was Victorian, and you were saying that the pub in that was used for loads of different things. So wasn't it used as like a mortuary?
Yeah.
So it
Yeah,
must
they
have
had a
just been
mortuary
a
in the back.
normal thing that it just doubled up as loads of different things.
Seems like a weird place to store a body, but if you think about it, pubs have cellars which are underground, which are usually cool. So that kind of makes sense, I suppose, for like storage and preservation purposes.
Storage purposes, yeah.
And I guess
I don't know how the
public place rather than somebody's home, isn't it? So it's
and it was likely to be open, I suppose, if they found a body, any time. I don't know what the opening, what it was like back then, but you could just see someone standing up with what the opening hours were.
We just store this criminal's body in your basement. It'll be fine. It's totally fine. I do think one of the saddest stories though in York is the ghost story about the ragged children at Bedern Arch. So there used to be a ragged school in the area, and it was run by a notorious drunk called George Pym. And when people go to the area, they report being able to hear children playing, like sometimes laughing or crying, which is automatically creepy. I think there's nothing quite like
the worst
child just to get the shivers going. They're really creepy, even when they're trying to be sweet. And so he got paid by the state for every child that he looked after. So what he would do is he would use these children as like forced labor and hire them out to do all these sorts of jobs, overwork them, underfeed them. And when they died, he'd bury their bodies in the walls, in the garden. Yeah, it was horrible. And eventually he was caught and he was tried and hung for his crimes. But obviously loads of children lost their lives, and people in the area still claim they can hear these ghost children. It's just such a sad story. But of course, I had to go in the book. Book. So I have ghost children in the book. Yeah, just to lighten the mood a little.
Yeah.
Ghost children.
You're right about ghost children though, that they are the worst. Like the laughter is worse than the crying, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, when it's sinister laughter. There's nothing quite like, but it's that twisting of innocence. Children are these wonderful innocent beings, and as soon as you take something innocent and twist it, it's just automatically scarier. That's why dolls are so scary, because there's this thing that you play with and they're supposed to represent sweetness and youth, and they're just creepy, aren't they? I mean, it's the eyes.
We've discussed that already on this podcast about China dolls, and oh no. They are so creepy, just
Yeah.
I've just read a short story. I think, is it Joyce Carol Oates? She wrote The Doll Master. You read that?
I don't know.
Oh, it's worth a read. It's about someone who collects dolls, and but are they actually dolls?
Are the dolls not dolls? Chills.
Again, something I feel like we've spoken about today.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of topics today.
We've covered mannequins that maybe aren't mannequins.
Yeah.
Have you done shoes? Shoes have a lot of folkloric connotations, and interesting. It's basically bricking things up in walls. So it's not something I included. But certainly bricking things up in walls for sympathetic magic to bring luck to the home. So one thing I found when I was researching parts of York was the Old Star Inn has a ghost story about cats being bricked up alive in the walls. And this is something that's been found all over the country in different buildings, is like essentially the mummified bodies of poor cats
You
in
talked about
walls.
that today. Yeah, Georgia.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you mentioned
So-
it earlier. Yeah.
No, it was
Yeah, so I
Annalise.
included ghost cats, but
Oh, it was.
shoes were another thing. Shoes were another thing that often get found when people are doing building work in very old buildings. They'll find shoes, used shoes, that
Yeah,
have been
is
put
it
in walls. Some
children's
kind of
used
symbolic
shoes?
magic. Quite often children's shoes, and they found them in, I remember they were doing work in one of the Oxford colleges, and they found these children's shoes, and there was no explanation. There was never any, it's an Oxford college, they haven't had children living there, there's no reason why these shoes would be there other than somebody brought them in to deliberately brick up in the wall to protect the house or protect the building. But we've lost the folklore associated with it. We can only speculate. We don't know exactly what the ritual was or what the logic behind it was. But I find that fascinating.
I'm now really sad because we kind of rebuilt our house, and I'm really sad that we've not put anything in the wall.
Yeah, you should have.
Well, I mean, next time you do any building work,
I know we've
Just
had
to freak someone out, put something weird in there.
Have you seen? There was a thing online where somebody had put a Halloween skeleton in between the kitchen cupboards, like in a gap. So for when whoever next ripped out that kitchen and put a new one in would find a skeleton. And I thought it was
that's magnificent. That's magnificent.
That
and
is
I
so
applaud that
dastardly.
human being. That's amazing. Well, you could always, I always thought if I ever rebuilt my house, I would go full creepy witch, old school magic, and put in a witch bottle. So you get a glass bottle, you pee in it, and you put some nails in it. And next time a witch who means you harm crosses your threshold, they will get cystitis. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Georgia did a whole
I don't know if it
episode on witch bottles.
We love witch bottles.
Yeah.
Love a witch bottle.
Yeah. It always hidden, like, yeah, in like the entrance or a chimney or something like that, isn't it? Because they were convinced that something bad was going to come in through.
Yeah, come up and down the chimney and stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's where the ghosts would hide, really. I mean, if you're going to haunt anywhere other than the pub, I think cinemas would be quite good because you could watch lots of free movies. Or the
That's true.
theatre. So there's supposed to be a ghost at the Royal York Theatre. Again, kind of a sad story. So it was a nun who was bricked up for being pregnant. Out of, obviously she's nun, should not be pregnant. So there's two stories. One is that she had an affair with a nobleman, and unfortunately resulted in a pregnancy which she couldn't hide, and she was punished by being bricked up. But the other story is that the nun's name was Therese, and there was no baby. She was simply confined to her cell as punishment for having a black and lying tongue, for claiming to have seen angels at mass or something. So I mean, very different stories, but obviously tied to the same haunting, which I think is wonderful. And she is supposed to be good luck to actors if you see her before your opening performance. If you're doing the dress rehearsal and you see a very creepy nun lady just sort of floating through the audience, you can think, great, this is going to go brilliantly.
Oh, that's nice, isn't it? That's nice for her as well, to feel, have a positive, make people feel happy and happy to see her.
So not all ghosts are horribly creepy.
You've just given me an idea for another episode, actually, because there is a ghost in the theatre in Last One to Die, and I think they are quite popular stories, and they leave like little candles out for them and things like that. So maybe I'll look into that for next month.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, so Rosie, where can we find you online?
Well, I'm most active on TikTok as @Merochild, which is a very sensible social media name because it tells people absolutely nothing about what I do. I'm good at that. Or I have a website, which is rosietalbot.co.uk, which is all about my book, and you can message me there. Or I'm also on Instagram, and occasionally I remember I have Twitter, and I'm on there as well.
And when is the book out?
It's out on the 6th of October.
So just in time for Halloween.
We
will put, if you send me the most appropriate pre-order link, I will pop that in the show notes, so anyone who wants to pre-order it can get there easily.
And which was your lie?
Okay, you're going to be pleased with this because my lie was number 1.
Oh, okay.
So I changed too.
I haven't ever worked as a professional Victorian reenactor. I've done a bit of work as a Tudor reenactor back when I was about 18 for the summer, but no, I've never worked as a professional Victorian reenactor.
So
It's a good one then.
where are the public sculptures?
So you were almost right. The artist who did Emmeline Hazel, she has also just unveiled a new sculpture, and it's called Our Elizabeth, and it's in Congleton. And I was the body, and I also get to make the garments when I work for Hazel. So I was involved with Emmeline because I made what Emmeline is wearing.
Oh wow!
Oh, that's so cool! What a cool fact!
Yeah, but I didn't actually model for the sculpture, but I did model for the other one. So I'm the body of that sculpture.
Oh,
and I
that's
still
so
have the
cool.
outfit in the cupboard, yeah.
Oh, and
then weirdly enough, I can walk backwards.
Backwards.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, it just, and I don't think about it. It's just mirror writing. I can't write backwards with my right hand, only with my left hand, and I can write forward with my right hand. My mum can do it as well. So maybe it's I don't know, something that's inherited, like being able to roll your tongue or not. But yeah.
Oh, that is very cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on to join us.
Yes, it was lovely. Thank you. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time. Thanks for
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Browser history deleted.